Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson. Today we're listening to Murder Comes to Town, and this is Trailing the Devil.
Hey, oh my gosh. What are you doing? He's been hiding the whole time it is. Think you're so clever, don't you? Do you know that? What? Me? What's wrong? Aww. Penny? Is it a male or female? Female. How long do you think she is? I think it's very close. In late July 2014, a young couple in Armada, Michigan, come across a scene no one in this little town remembers experiencing in well over 40 years. This includes local police chief Howard Smith. I had just got done playing hockey, and I was coming back to my house, and I got a call from my detective sergeant, the officer that was on the scene. We had determined that we had a young dead girl. Immediately, Chief Howard places a call to the Michigan State Police. The grave tasks ahead will require more expertise than his Department of Nine has. Have you identified the victim? No ID or phone on the body. The area of where she was found is about a 6-foot wide tarred path in the middle of the woods, which had heavy brush. So she was not visible from people going by. She looks like a teenager. When I saw her injuries, it was apparent that someone had stomped on her face so hard that the imprint of the bottom of the shoe was clearly visible on her skin. The body told the story of how vicious the attack was. The force that had to be used, the anger that had to be involved in this was immense.
Her clothes were somewhat pulled off, and it was very disturbing. Tells me that we're dealing with a sick individual, some sort of monster.
It was definitely the most brutal crime I've ever seen.
Chief Smith?
Go ahead.
I've got a boy here looking for his girlfriend.
He's with the girl's mother, who's been trying to reach her for a couple hours.
Josh and Jennifer saw the commotion and decided to walk down to the Orchard Trail to see what was going on.
They're looking for a 14-year-old girl named April Millsap.
Have someone take him down to the station. We'll talk to him there.
So they sent him immediately to the police department, which was only a couple blocks away.
By the time Jennifer Millsap and her daughter's boyfriend Josh arrive at the small Armada station house, Jennifer has contacted her boyfriend David.
Maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, I got a phone call from Jennifer. She is really hard to understand when she's panicking. And she's panicking really bad.
I have a speech impediment anyway, so please didn't understand what I was talking about. Then I called David, and that's when I kind of got a phone call saying that April's missing.
And April's 16-year-old boyfriend Josh has alerted his parents to the situation as well.
Can you two folks come with me?
What can you tell me about April?
She's a good girl. She pretty much does what she's told. Typical teenager. She listens to me pretty much. She knows not to be out after dark.
All right, can you tell me what time she woke up this morning?
It started like a normal day. It was summer, so she slept in. And so she got up around noon, 1 o'clock.
And what'd she do for the rest of her day?
She spends most of it playing in the computer.
Okay, all right. What else did she do today other than play on the computer?
Took the dog for a walk, but that was the last thing she did. I started to get worried around 6:30. So first I started texting because that's how she communicates. And then when I wasn't getting text answers back, that's when I started calling.
And you were absolutely positive she had her phone with her?
Yes.
And so when she left, did she say where she was going?
She didn't say exactly the path that she was going to take, but she goes to the trail over by the granary over there.
Okay, so from top to bottom, what was she wearing?
A pink top and light blue jean shorts with a black stripe on the slide.
Based on her clothing description, what her mother had last seen her, and based on the fact that there was a dog found in the area that fit the description of their dog Penny, we pretty much knew that that was April Millsap.
I was thinking someone please come out and tell us what is going on. Yeah, and don't lie to us, just tell us.
They came with a photo and said it's her. The photo was fuzzy, but you could tell it was just not enough.
I've never been that upset before. I had to walk away. At which point I broke down and cried.
I can't even put into words what I was feeling, but yeah, disbelief is a big one. Shock.
As an only child, April Millsap was the center of her mother's world.
She was just happy all the time, just fun-loving.
When I first met her, she was 6 years old. She was shy at first. It was just wonderful to watch her grow up and blossom into a young little girl, and I wanted to see her be successful in life.
Though April's reserved nature stayed with her, a bounty of natural gifts made her a standout nonetheless.
Oh, she loved art. Loved to draw, loved to color, loved to paint. She made things with her hands. She was very artistic.
She liked to draw pictures of like anime cartoons, and she was really good at it.
With friends, she did what most teenagers do.
We would hang out after school, talk about guys, and go shopping a lot.
But April shared a special bond with animals, particularly with one of her family dogs named Penny.
I would definitely say that Penny and April were like best friends.
She loved animals, I can tell you that. And she wanted basically to be a veterinarian.
I was putting money aside every week for her to be able to pursue her dream.
Once we figured out who it was, your heart sinks. One, because of the age of the victim. Two, because it's a local kid that you knew. But unfortunately, the law enforcement community wasn't able to mourn with this because we had to move on because time is of the essence when, we're looking at a murder investigation.
Do you think think it's possible April was meeting someone.
I thought maybe she was meeting Josh.
Then I called him and asked him if he heard anything from her, and he said no. Yeah, go back and forth there. I told him I'm going out looking for her.
Josh comes over to the house, gets with Jennifer, and Josh and Jennifer go down to the Orchard Trail.
Can you guys come with me, please? Now the question police have to ask. Could April's boyfriend already know she's dead?
We looked at him as the prime suspect.
But the truth's coming out. I don't think you went out there to meditate and say, I'm going to go do this or I'm going to go do that. But some things escalate. And then sometimes you just lose control at that time.
We were not trying to railroad him for this homicide. Actually, what we were trying to do was eliminate him.
But if they can clear the guy closest to April, that will mean somewhere in this tiny town, a killer is slipping away. An hour north of Detroit, Armada, Michigan is a picturesque village surrounded by family-owned farms and orchards.
Looks like a beautiful little city you'd like to raise your children in.
It's a very safe town. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone sees everyone's cars. They know whose cars, parked on the street, whose car is driving by. You know everyone's children.
But on a midsummer evening in 2014, this blessed tranquility is shattered by the news of local teenager April Millsap's murder.
Very seldom is homicide perpetuated by people that don't know one another. So we look at the loved ones first.
And that places April's 15-year-old boyfriend Josh into the crosshairs of the investigation.
What was his relationship with her? Were they in the middle of an argument? What was going on in his life and her life? And most importantly, where was he?
My friend wanted me to go help move the TV. Well, we got the TV by a little before 4:30 when we left. Got McDonald's. Drive-through. We came back. From my house about half an hour, I don't know.
Josh was nervous. There were the normal questions you ask in any type of investigation like that where you're trying to create a timeline. So Wednesday night, did you see April then at all?
No, last time I saw April was Sunday night.
Did you want to see her or did she want to see you?
Well, there was a little thing where she saw something on my phone. She kind of took it the wrong way and got mad at me.
Okay.
I see how I doesn't look good.
Doesn't look good at all? Why is that?
Because last time I saw her in an argument, I had a text message from her. And she missed me. It was freaked out and deleted 4 messages.
There was some, little drama, if you will, teenage drama going on between the two of them.
You gotta help clarify some things for me, okay? You deleted the text message. You wanted the text message to say that you felt that was so inappropriate.
Now it's just, I don't. I'm just freaking out about the whole situation. I don't know what to do.
He was distraught, upset. He's a young kid. I don't think he knew what to think.
Next, Josh shows the detectives a text he didn't delete. The last one he received from April that evening.
It said, I think I almost got kidnapped and all my key.
Our first thought is, you got this text message around 6:30, and you didn't call 911?
No, I'm thinking she just over-exaggerated. It was some kind of sick joke.
I still have an issue with that, okay? And the reason I'm having that issue is if you felt that, something important was going on, right? But she got a practical joke, and you call her one time and she doesn't answer, what would a normal person decide to do?
No phone was found near April's body. Could Josh have used it to send the ominous message to himself? If so, what did he do with the phone next?
We're going to go back over this again.
We went over and over with him what his timeline was, How did he get this text message? Where was he when he got it? When did he read it? And what had he done that entire day?
Can I take him home now? We've been here all night. He's told you everything he knows.
We'll let you know if we need any more information.
As the primary person of interest heads home, word of the grim discovery on Macomb Orchard Trail begins spreading through the close-knit community.
Your mind goes right to pure evil. To hurt a child, it's evil. It was just evil. I first heard that there was a body discovered, so I texted all my friends. I never got a response from April, but I didn't suspect anything until I got a call the next morning that it was April. It was heartbreaking.
As soon as dawn breaks, police go to work trying to find April's cell phone.
We had an entity from the federal government that was tracking the signal from the phone, and as we were getting close to it, the signal died.
Canines are called into action, sniffing the area where the signal was last detected.
The Bloodhound managed to find April's phone, which was about half a mile east of where she was murdered.
Believing it holds clues to April's death, the damaged phone is immediately sent to the Michigan State Crime Lab.
They would open that phone up, go inside, and of course, dump all the information that we can from a phone, which would include phone calls, text messages, emails.
Meanwhile, state investigators attempt to verify Josh's story about where he was in the time frame of April's murder.
They had gone through a fast food drive-through. Most have cameras, so that leads to obtaining video, verifying the time they were there.
There he is.
You see right through the windshield, and you can see both boys, and you can identify them.
We knew exactly what time that was, which was right around 6:30, which was right around the time of this text message.
Which means, so far anyway, Josh appears to be telling the truth. But April's body is discovered at 8 p.m. Until the coroner determines the time of death, April's boyfriend remains a person of interest. While the authorities gear up for the biggest murder investigation in Armada's history, April's family must confront their loss.
I was just hoping it was a nightmare that we could wake up from, but it didn't happen. We didn't wake up from it. It was real.
You don't recover from that. Your children are your life.
We were so much in shock. You can't even explain it.
Why was the biggest question? Why would somebody? Why?
Why is exactly what police hope to find out. By the next afternoon, their command center is buzzing with activity.
The Armada Police Station itself is probably 900 square feet, about the size of a one-bedroom apartment.
We decided to make a command post at the elementary school in town so that we could have enough room for everybody to be briefed and everybody to start processing the information.
Hoping to find witnesses, police, agents, and detectives are each assigned different streets to systematically canvass every neighborhood in town.
The next morning, we set out and start interviewing all of the neighbors in the entire village.
Hello, I'm Sergeant MacArthur with the State Police. Would you have a moment to speak with me? I guess so. I'm wondering if you've seen anything unusual in your neighborhood recently.
Kind of. One of the residents there, a young girl, had reported that she saw a white van pass by her at a slow rate of speed and point towards her, which really made her feel uncomfortable It was very creepy. There were 3 men in the van, and it was like they spotted me and started following me. She saw the van, she said, around 6 o'clock on the evening of the murder. Based on the timeline we were getting at the same period by the mother and by Josh, is when was she last seen alive, which was about 6 o'clock. When we found her, it was only 8:20.
Did you happen to see the license plate?
I got a video. She took a video of the van on her cell phone. It's quite grainy and far away, but she was scared enough to grab her phone and take a video of this van.
We were able to download the video, and we took a still picture from that. We released it to the news channels, and they put that out over the air.
The focus right now, this van, seen in the area before April's body was found.
The news media, they were on it. They were on it like 24 hours a day. So we couldn't stay off the news. We just, we're glued to the TV constantly to see what the latest developments were.
Developments that caused the tiny town of Armada to wonder, will this killer ever be caught?
I knew there's no way it could be someone in our town. There's no way. But in the back of your mind, you're racking through all the people thinking, who could it be? And then your second thought is your own children and your own friends and everyone else that you know in town. You just want everyone to be safe.
3 days after the vicious, sexually charged murder of 14-year-old April Millsap, the tiny village of Armada, Michigan, is in a state unrecognizable to its own residents.
On a typical day, there's always kids out playing. When this whole thing was going on, all you heard was crickets. Kids. It was pretty scary.
As far as I know, there was only one other murder in the village of Armada, and that was, I believe, in the 70s.
It was a hard time for just about everybody. People started staying in more. They definitely weren't walking the trail without friends or a parent.
While townsfolk adjust to their newfound fear and the overwhelming nature of this case, the Armada police tip line becomes inundated with potential clues.
People were calling in, just somebody was acting suspicious. We were getting 10 and 20 at a time, and we ended up having close to 1,000 tips.
One of those tips immediately stands out. Someone calls in claiming they know where to find the mysterious white van police have been looking for.
I need you to step out of the vehicle, sir. Your license and registration, please.
No, I wasn't speeding. What's the problem?
I have a few questions to ask you.
The man in the white van said, I was in that area, and I was taking my employees and showing them which homes I had worked on. And I was not pointing at the girl, I was pointing at the houses.
We took a picture of him, we took a picture of the van. I sent a scout car over and talked to the 14-year-old girl. She said, yep, that was the guy, that was the van. So that answered our question as to who and what the mysterious white van was.
While the lead on the white van is filed away, police are still hopeful that April's cell phone will somehow lead to her killer.
We were so relieved when we found the phone. Not to mention for any kind of fingerprints or DNA that might be on that phone, but for what was on that phone.
Lab results on the phone are in.
We had the data extracted, and we saw the text messages with her boyfriend. We did not see any other significant information that she was meeting anyone.
Investigators next meet with the coroner to discuss the findings of April's autopsy.
This was truly a brutal attack. The autopsy determined that her death was caused by asphyxiation and blunt force trauma. The medical examiner determined that the trauma to her head rendered her unconscious, but the stomping of her neck and her face asphyxiated her.
The most crucial information to the police is time of death. It's information that all but eliminates their only suspect.
Josh had talked about being with his friend Caleb for the majority of that time. We ended up knowing the murder occurred right around 6:30, and there was no physical way that Josh could have left that restaurant, find her on the trail, commit the murder, and then go home.
There is this, though.
In trying to crush the victim underfoot, the killer leaves a clear impression of his soul.
Well, you can see the footprint right there.
And we knew that matching the tread marks to the shoes worn by the killer would solve the case.
With the autopsy complete, April's body is released to the family to be laid to rest.
Very sad is you never expect to see a 14-year-old laying there.
There was a huge turnout, like you wouldn't believe it. Everyone in the town came to support.
Media coverage of the event jogs the memory of a family whose story intrigues investigators enough to pay them a visit.
It was a father and his two daughters. They had just seen the news, and they realized that they had seen April Millsap on the path.
She's on her phone, and then there was a guy on the motorcycle behind her.
On a motorcycle? Yeah, he's not supposed to be on there. That's why it caught my attention.
He described the demeanor almost like a father upset with a daughter.
Did you actually see them speak to each other at all? We're just going off of body language. What did this motorbike look like? Blue and white, like an Enduro, had a headlight on it. Was it an Enduro older? Or? No, not that old. Like, I think it's definitely the 2000s.
Not 100% sure it was involved, but we believe it was there, and that person had spoke to April Millsap.
They were probably the last people to see her alive.
While police move forward with their valuable new tip, the town of Armada stays in the dark and grows more and more terrified by the day.
Should we go on the trail again? You know, what are you going to do about the trail? How are you going to protect people if they're on the trail?
I thought they were never going to catch anybody, and it was just so stressful.
All the children stayed closer to their parents, their homes. Was a little quieter. You want to make sure your child's safe then, because somebody was out there.
What the scared citizens don't realize is that police are closing in on a killer.
That guy on the motorcycle was more than likely the killer.
It's just a matter of finding him. "4 days into 14-year-old April Millsap's murder investigation, new witnesses come forward with a promising lead. They claim to have seen April with a man on a blue and white motorcycle.
I was on my way back to the command center. I had looked over this driveway that dropped down to a garage, and there was a blue and white dirt bike type motorcycle sitting there parked by this garage. I grabbed my phone, pulled the camera up, zoomed in on it, took a couple photos.
It was parked right in the driveway.
Go back and see what you can find out. Peckman went out to the house where he'd seen the motorcycle, but by the time he had came back, the motorcycle was no longer there. However, the homeowner was.
But dude, I don't even own a bike.
Okay, well, this bike was parked right here about 2 hours ago. Can you tell me who this belongs to?
I've never seen that bike. I wasn't even home.
I felt like he wasn't being 100% truthful. Not necessarily wanting to lie to us, but people lie for different reasons.
The bike was gone. Homeowner says he knows nothing about it, but I think he's lying.
Well, table that for now and come with me.
There was a young man that was arrested just to the west of Armada, and he was taken into custody for a crime of violence. He may have been intoxicated at the time he was taken into custody, but he went on a rant about April.
Roger Mace is the boy's name, and he and April were classmates at one time.
Man, that had to be hard for April, man. I mean, I know I can't imagine what she was thinking at that time.
The officer's listening to Roger talk, and the officer's gut feeling is that there's something not right, and that he might have been in love with April.
I don't know anybody that could have hated her or even disliked her.
State investigators allow the teenager to go home and sober up, but not before scheduling a follow-up interview for the next day.
Was he obsessed with her? What was he doing during the time of the murders? And did he have access to a motorcycle?
This is a murder we're talking about. I wouldn't like to advance murder of a friend. Yeah, murder. Friend at his school. Yeah. So it'd be just a lot more important for the shoes to come out on this one than the other. Everything I tell you guys is true.
Mace claims to be at work at the time of the murder, but detectives aren't ready to take him at his word. Not before they take a deeper look into his background.
No motorcycle, and we couldn't put him anywhere in the area. And so, obviously, he was cleared.
Eager to apply some pressure,
Hey, Butch,
Detective Peckman returns to speak to their most promising suspect.
you hear anything about that motorcycle?
Yeah, I did. There's this guy, James, and he may ride an Enduro. But I don't know much about bikes.
What's James's last name?
It's Van Callis. Lives over in Wales Township.
Peckman radios in for the address and makes the drive out to Wales Township, about 30 minutes away.
We went out to James Van Callis' house to make contact with him.
You James Van Callis?
Yeah.
Is that your bike?
Yeah, what's this about?
I told James that we were investigating, this murder of this young girl in Armada, and that we had some information that somebody was in town with a motorcycle that may have seen something.
I went through that day on the way to my brother's house, but I don't remember seeing anything. This doesn't concern you. Get back inside.
Did you stop anywhere?
Honestly, I just drove around for a little bit. And I was waiting for my brother to get off work.
What time did you get to your brother's house?
Right around 6 o'clock.
Do you remember what you were wearing that night?
Let's see, probably a hoodie, camo pants, tennis shoes.
I asked him if I could see his shoes. The shoes were important, obviously, because we had tread patterns on April Millsap. So James went in the house, he grabbed a pair of shoes, brought them out.
These are it.
Mind if I take a picture?
Back yourself out.
So you just flip them over for me? Okay, thank you.
The next morning, while the photo is sent to the lab, investigators run a background check on James Van Callis.
What have you got?
He looks pretty harmless. He's just a punk.
He had some things on his criminal history, but it wasn't necessarily anything at all to indicate that he was a violent person.
By mid-afternoon, investigators have reason to doubt their initial feeling about James Van Callis. Not only does the lab confirm the shoes don't match the prints, but his alibi checks out too.
The brother confirmed he was at his home around 6 o'clock in the evening.
But detectives still can't help feeling there must be something there.
His bike matched the description, and he, by his own admission, puts himself in the area during the time frame.
Ultimately, what we decided we would love to do is get a written statement from him.
Let's take a look and see what's wrong about it. Well, look what we have here.
In their backyard, there was several marijuana plants.
The discovery explains why Butch was so hesitant to speak with law enforcement.
It turns out that James Van Callis sold Butch weed. However, that certainly wasn't enough to call him a primary suspect at all.
Police arrest Van Callis on a possession charge and immediately petition the DA to search his house. The next day, they return with a search warrant in hand.
We took the clothes that we believed he was wearing on that evening. We took the motorcycle. We took the helmet.
With James Van Callis behind bars, police turn to the evidence seized from his house, but they have trouble tying it to April's murder.
We never found April's DNA on his clothing or on his helmet or on his bicycle. It appeared that his helmet was clean, appeared to have been wiped off.
Without evidence to support a murder charge, the judge will have no power to deny bail on Van Callis' drug arrest.
The case was developing rather quickly because we had him in jail, but we didn't know if he was the suspect. And at some point in time, he was going to be released.
Just when police are starting to lose hope, an unlikely source comes forward, and not a moment too soon. Justice for 14-year-old April Millsap is all police can think about as they continue the biggest manhunt in the history of our maiden Michigan. Prime suspect James Van Callis is behind bars on a drug charge. Problem is, there is no evidence tying him directly to the crime.
Detective MacArthur?
Then, an unexpected call from Van Callis' girlfriend, Crystal.
What's your name?
She was crying. She knew something happened, something was wrong.
Will you come in to talk to us?
Couldn't talk before because I was afraid.
What were you afraid of, Crystal?
James.
He was very controlling of her. She wasn't allowed to call her family unless she had permission.
He told me that he messed up and he needed me to stand by him.
What did he do?
He lied. The shoes he was wearing, the girl got murdered.
He told me he was wearing this low-top, all-white pair of tennis shoes that he ultimately showed me. And she told me no. He was wearing a high-top pair of black and white basketball tennis shoes.
I saw him cleaning them that night.
His girlfriend told us he wore those shoes all the time. And that the shoes went missing the day after the homicide.
She wasn't sure of the exact model, but she pointed out in his Facebook, an old Facebook photo, what shoes they were.
The tread pattern is a perfect match. And that's not all.
So the FBI took a closer look at April's phone. And what they found is that she was running a sports fitness tracker on her phone on the night she was murdered. They were able to recreate the path captured by this app and provided us an exact route of where she walked and where she was, including the exact time and date.
You see it off the path a little bit, and the line just keeps zigzagging, and you get chills because you know what's going on at that moment. After that, the line comes back out onto the path, and starts moving at a rapid pace. We knew at that point the killer had took that phone, and now we know exactly what route he went.
Police are able to find surveillance footage along that route from that exact time.
Looking at the surveillance video, we see a man on a motorcycle. And we knew, with the help of that app, that that was definitely the killer.
On October 8th, 2014, James Van Callis, still in jail on the drug charge, is formally charged with the murder of April Millsap.
I was overjoyed to hear that. We only lived 2 miles from the courthouse. So I jumped in the car and went down there when Eric Smith, the prosecutor, had made the announcement that charges would be made. I just felt I had to be there to see this, and I was there.
At his trial, the prosecution tells the jury that the murder began as a chance encounter on the bike trail.
Shut up! We believe that it was started out of rage that that April wouldn't talk to him and was trying to ignore him, walk away from him.
It was horrific testimony to listen to the medical examiner on how she was murdered, and there was no emotion on his part whatsoever.
He kept looking at me and Jennifer and smiling like you wouldn't believe. I wanted to smack that smile right off his face. I don't know, maybe he thought he was going to get away with it. I don't know.
On February 8th, 2016, James Van Callis is found guilty on all counts of murder, kidnapping, and attempted sexual assault. He's sentenced to life in prison without parole.
I would have liked to see more, but I mean, we don't have the death penalty yet.
He got everything that the state of Michigan could give to him.
In Armada, life goes on, but it isn't the same.
She was the only child. He took away my joy. He took everything from me.
I find myself thinking about her every day. With everything that I go through, I'd say, what would I do if April was here? What would I tell her? He took the comfort of being in a small town that's safe, comfortable. Yes, my kids can go play outside without worrying.